First, everybody for joining today's webinar. I think everybody is here and joined. So I appreciate everybody taking their time out of their day today so we could have this webinar about FileCloud and the different user account types that we currently have. So my name is Henry Arnold. I'm a solutions executive here at FileCloud. And today we're going to be really focusing on different user types and accounts that we have. And that's what you guys are currently seeing on my screen that I'm sharing. And so first off, maybe you guys already have the FileCloud application up yourself, or you're interested in possibly using FileCloud for a secure file sharing platform for you and your enterprise. If you need more details of how the FileCloud platform works, you can feel free to reach out to us at any time on our website, getfilecloud.com. You can either sign up for our free trial here, or you can schedule a direct demo with one of our solutions executives as well. Depending on the region, you guys might work directly with me or one of my colleagues as well, and we'd be happy to assist in going in further detail on anything you need to know there. But diving into the actual different user account types that we have. So with FileCloud, you can access it a variety of ways. The end user can access it through a web portal. We have a drive and sync application and mobile apps as well. And so these full access users here can access any of these different ways. They can access all 5 of those ways I just mentioned. And then the admin kind of controls all of this. So they're the ones who create these different account types. They can control what ways the users can access. And we'll be diving a little bit more in detail on this when we get to these later tabs here. But essentially the admin controls everything throughout the system. They have overlying control over everything from a security, permissions. It can be very granular as well. And that is all controlled through a web-based portal here, which we'll be covering a little bit later, as I mentioned. The next one is a full access user. This is typically any internal user within your team. So if you have maybe an Active Directory, a LDAP, you can integrate and have them all as full access users. These can access, as mentioned, any of those 5 ways: the web portal, the drive, the sync, or the 2 mobile apps. And they have full access to all of this if they're allowed to. They have their own little storage location, which is called My Files 2. But again, the admin can disable any of this as well. And these will be the licensed users as well. So if you do go with us, these are the licenses that you will be paying for, the full access users here. The guest access users are also licensed users. They're just a little bit more restricted. They don't have the My File, so they don't have that personal storage location. They can still access most of the platform. They just don't have as much control as a full access user. And then the last one is a limited user. So these, as the name implies, are very limited, and we created these typically for partners or clients. So these are typically more for external use. So instead of doing maybe a public share, which we can also do, you can instead create these limited access users, which are absolutely free. These aren't included on the license. You can have as many of these as you want. So if you have 1 or 2, or you could have 10,000 of them, we will never charge you for these. And for these, the main purpose is that you can create an account so you can still track and audit everything they're doing. And these users can only see what has specifically been shared with them. And it can only be shared from another end user. So like a full access user can share with a limited, but an admin cannot. And so the purpose being is so if you need to, again, share information in a more secure way with clients or partners that you might be working with, and maybe a public share link is not secure enough because they can share that with anybody, you can create these limited access accounts because they will still have their own username, they will still have their own password, and then you can control what they can do. So if you want to send something to them, you can allow them to view and download, for example. Or if you want to retrieve something from them, you can allow them to maybe upload only, so they can't even see what's within your folder. And so these can be just very helpful for those standpoints of keeping the data a little bit more secure, especially when sharing with partners and clients, and maybe even on a more consistent basis. You don't have to do a public share link every single time. They can just sign into their account and access the folder that you had. And so here you can see a little bit of the breakdown between the 3, the full access user obviously having access to almost everything across the board. The guest being a little bit more restricted, the main thing really just being the personal storage being disabled. And then the limit access, as you can see, since it is a free account, it is very restricted. They don't have access to the apps or anything like that because it is a free account. The main purpose, again, just being so you can share through the web portal and allow them to upload, download, or just view the files or folders that you're sharing with them. And so you can look at our white papers here at any time, getfilecloud.com support docs. But I will also now break down a little bit more in the actual menu. So here we are in the actual admin portal, the one we originally started with. And this is usually where you will start creating all these different user accounts. And so here on the left, you can see the users, you can manage them here. And either you can import when you first get started, import everything via a CSV if you have everything set up. You can say what kind of user type, the email and everything. Or again, as mentioned earlier, you can integrate your AD, Active Directory, or LDAP as well. So it makes it very easy to control all the users and manage everything as well. And then as you can see, once we're in here, the main ones we personally use commonly are the full access accounts, as well as the limited, the free ones. And so when you hit here, add user, you can, let's say it's not integrated via the AD or LDAP, you're just manually adding them. Then you can choose which ones you want here. So if you want the full get user, the guest user, or the limited user, it's completely up to you as an admin. You can select this, for example. Let's say we want to create one of these limited ones. Let's say we want to say create one for me. Doesn't need a display name. We'll do a password here. And then the email for this doesn't even have to be valid. So it could be adlive.co, not an even email, and we can create that here. And so now you can see we've added a limited user. We won't save this. And here you can see the limited user. This is, again, a free account. They don't have to pay anything. And we will show you later how exactly the difference looks between the full access user and the limited user when they sign in. And so here you can now see the different user types. And you can see also when you select the edit button, you can control a little bit more. The limited, of course, there's not as many options as you can see. They don't have mobile devices. They don't have their My Files. It's very basic compared to when you go to the full access user here, or let's maybe go to my account here. You can see that we have all the different options. You can see when they last logged in. You can see how much space I'm using. You can see the files that I have in my own storage here, the My Files as well. You can see the policies if you want to add policies, what devices I'm connecting to. You can see the backups as well. And then you can even have things like an expiry date on the account, where the backups are being held. You can control all that through the admin portal. And typically, a lot of things are shared through team folders. And this is where I was mentioning earlier to you guys is these team folders are more for internal use. And so you can create one for clients, but then it will have to be shared with the internal team and then shared externally. So I'll show that example for a second. So as I showed earlier, I have two accounts. This one I just created, the 1313, and then I have this one here. And so with this email, you can see I can add my account. It will even send an email to this account if I want to, just notifying it, but you don't have to. And you can see now I can grant different permissions to my internal user, my account here, the full access user. And I can control the permissions here too. So if I want to give more permissions or less, like view only, or maybe I want to allow myself to download, upload, share, for example, and sync. Or I could even go as far as letting myself delete and manage the entire folder as well. And so this way the internal team can have these different accesses. You can still control this, but you can add them in here. And the same goes for groups as well. So you can add different groups in here, for example, the sales team, and maybe allow them to only view here. But one thing I mentioned earlier, if you guys remember, is that the limited user, the free accounts cannot be shared from an admin portal. So this 1313 now, if I were to select this, you will see this error message because the free accounts cannot be shared via team folders from the admin side. These are strictly meant more for external use. And that's why it's usually shared from another user. So you would have to allow the share option here, and then they can share from their end, which I'll show here in a second. to the external account if needed. So once this is all set up, now we've shared some of the main folders to my account and the users have been created. Now we can go over to the actual user side. And so here you can see you can access through the same URL. It's just now the core and it's still an encrypted connection. So everything is safe and secure. And now I can sign in either just with my login here, my AD credentials, or we even have single sign on. And once we sign in here, you will see the different folder types. So you can see the My Files, which is like a personal storage location, the team folders, which are the folders we just were sharing out. And then if any of your colleagues have shared anything with you, it will show up under this folder. And if no one has shared anything with you here, nothing will show up, but you can see one of my internal colleagues, Whale here, has shared a folder with me. If I select here, he shared an architecture documents, for example, with me, a folder. But just to show you guys the folder we just went, so the team folders, if we select here, you can see now the different folders that were originally here on the admin side. And for example, just to show you guys, you only see the folders that have been shared with you. So here, if we create this test one here, you can see if I were to go back here and reload this user would not be able to see this because that test folder was not shared with me. I only see what has been shared with me. And you can also see the different permissions. So for example, here, this code lathe folder, I can only view, but you can see I can't download, I can't edit, I can't share because the admin did not allow me to do this. Here you can see the permissions are allowed as well here and here as well. And so you can grant different levels of permissions to different users, either on the main folders here, or you can go very granular as well. And then just to continue on, we were working on this marketing folder earlier. You can also share now further with other users. So if we select the share, you see the share option. You can now share with allow select users and groups. And so this is again the same option we saw in the admin portal. We can add our internal team, our internal groups as well. So if I wanted to add, again, the sales team or the marketing team, for example, because this is the marketing folder, we can add them in. And since it's the marketing team, we can give them full permissions, for example. And then what we can do as well is maybe Whale is on the team here too. We can share this back with him. He has a full access account, so I can send this to him. And you'll see here, I can give him different permissions as well. So I can give him full permissions. And then let's just say we want to share it with our partner and client as well. And so here you can see my account, the 1313 one we created. We can add them in. We can add the user. And you can see this time you're not going to get an error message. The user is now added into this account. But what you will notice is when sharing it, you can only give so many permissions since it's a free account. And those 3 permissions are view, download, and upload as mentioned earlier. Those are the only 3 permissions. And as soon as I try to give any other permission, you'll see this error message come up. Since it is a free user, they're not allowed to share. They don't have a sync app, so they can't sync or do anything else. You can't manage or anything like that. You can see the error message popping up here every single time. And so you can disable different permissions as well. So if you don't want them to even delete or anything, you can turn that off too. But the main purpose, again, is either sending files or folders to clients or retrieving them with these free accounts here. So those are the limited users and how to essentially share externally with them. I'm going to give it a quick second. Let me know if you guys do have any questions. You can leave them here in the chat and I'd be happy to answer them before I continue on. I'll give it here 10, 20 seconds just to see if anybody has any questions. Okay, nobody have a question here. So people were asking about the groups here. So only full access users were typically allowed to be in groups earlier on, but now you can add those limited access users to groups as well. That's something that we recently added in for some of our larger clients who need to share with a lot of partners or clients at once. You can now also create groups for your limited access users. The only thing you can't do is you can't integrate limited access users with AD or LDAP or anything like that. That's only for full access users. But yes, that's a great question. It's something I believe we just released in our last release. at 20.3, I believe, was when that was brought out. So great question. Let me know if there are any other questions as well before I continue on. Perfect. No other questions so far. So yeah, those are the main user types that we currently have, and the groups and everything. If you do need to share without having these different user account types, and it's not as important that you can track and audit these, you can also still do a public share link. So if you need to just share quick and easy with a link, like we were mentioning at the beginning, you can use this public share link. You can share this link with anybody and control what they can also do. So you can allow them to view download only and maybe upload only, again, controlling their permissions. And you can either do it with a password, as you can see here, or up here you can do it without a password. And so this way you can share it with anybody that's needed. So perfect. One last thing I will do is just to show you guys, I'll add this account back on here, just how it looks from the limited access user now when they sign into the platform, how it will look for them. So we'll add them in here. Maybe we'll add another folder, upload. Let's create just a new folder, test here. Perfect. So yeah, now we have this test folder and they can view and upload in here. So now they will be accessing through the same URL. So the same exact URL, they can sign in. So it's still a safe, secure, encrypted connection. They just have to sign in now with their own password, username and password. You can even have a terms of service, as you can see as well here. So if you want something like GDPR terms of service or something else, that is also possible. And then now you can see when they sign in, it has the same look and feel, but they don't have all the different folder types. You can see it's very straightforward. There's really nothing else for them to do. They can see who shared with them, and then they can see what folder has been shared with them. So here they can see, they can view, download, that's it. They can't edit, they can't share, they cannot delete or anything. They can only see what's in here, and then they can view, download the folder here, essentially. That's all they're allowed to do here. So it's very broken down. It keeps it simple for them. This way there's no confusion for them or anything like that as well. Perfect. And just to let you guys know, all these user types and everything can be tracked and audited on our audit log as well. So here you can even see the 1313 one. We can see that I was just accessing the different shared folder as well. So all of this is being tracked and audited at all times. You can really see who's doing what at what times within your platform too, no matter what kind of user it is or how they're accessing the platform as well. Perfect. So that kind of covers it for today with the different user types. If you need any of this information, you can go to our support documents, or if you have more questions, you can either download our free trial and test it out for yourself. You can either set it up online, where essentially you don't have to host anything yourself. You can just have a quick, easy setup. Or if you want to be self-hosted and hosted on your own servers, physical or virtual, you can do that as well. And yeah, that concludes our webinar for today. I'll give it maybe 30 more seconds or so, or a minute, to see if there's any other questions that I can help answer. If not, thank you guys all for joining the webinar here today, as I was happy to help you guys.